TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes,
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Blurson and Blurnsball.
Futurama!
Oh, shit. Ain't no party like a Podsmen party, 'cause a Podsmen party don't stop. Who rocks the party that rocks the party? The Podsmen do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is TV Party for you tonight. And I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Rattledge. And tonight, our favorite show, sort of, maybe, is WWE Backlash 2020. Brought to you by the good people at the WWE and the WWE Performance Center in sunny Orlando, COVID, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, Backlash, the greatest wrestling match ever. This is the greatest show! Joining me on this show tonight are the Podsmen, as I said before. First, from the Great White North, from our Canadian office, ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey, how do you do?
Well, sir, is everybody ready for the greatest podcast ever? Hold on, wait for the sound effects. Here we go. There we go. The greatest podcast ever with crowd noise.
I love
How
it.
about that? There you go. And they're dead, just like that. Canned heat.
I like canned tuna and I like canned heat. And coming you from sunny Arizona, the hardest working man in podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Sheehan. How do you do, sir?
Lottie-dottie-dottie, I like to party. I'm here for the greatest show, hashtag greatest show, right? I'm looking forward to talking about this because I think it's going to be rather divisive.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's get right into it. We don't need to do a big, long introduction tonight. This is the road to SummerSlam. Next month is Extreme Rules. Last month we had Money in the Bank. And I will say this. Watching these monthly WWE Network pay-per-view type shows is a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable when I just don't watch Raw. I know you guys have been keeping up with it. I think you guys actually watch more of this stuff than I do. I watched the night after Money in the Bank when the man became the mom. But since then, I've been doing a rewatch of The Wire. So I actually hadn't watched too much main roster WWE going into this. So these matches weren't beat to death. I hadn't seen the same things over and over and over again, and I never watch SmackDown. Or if I do, I watch it on fast forward. So let me go to you first, Chris Bailey. You've been keeping up with Raw. Were you excited going into this show?
No, sir, I was not. The only thing I was interested in was seeing how they were going to pull off the greatest wrestling match of all time, or ever, I should say. But they didn't, by the way. Spoiler. But no, you know what? Raw has been extremely stale. I've actually become somewhat of an AEW guy. Believe it or not, the tides have turned. But AEW seems to have they got their stuff figured out for TV. Raw seems to be deadpanning it with the plexiglass and the NXT recruits in the audience, and it really, really, really murders the product. I guarantee you. So no, my hype level was at mid-range, I would say, for this one. I was interested to see what special thing that they were going to do for this main event, but they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Let's put it that way.
How about you, Sheehan? You know, you've been keeping up with Raw. I've heard you talk about it in our private chats. Did they get you excited for this? Were you looking forward to it? Or was it like, well, I like to talk podcasts. Other than that, fuck this show.
I can't remember the last pay-per-view I was excited for before going into it. I don't think... it's been years since I've actually been amped to watch a main roster pay-per-view. It's the build has been garbage for forever now. And like you said, they beat the same matches, the same pairings to death in the weeks leading up to the show, where it's like, how am I going to get excited to watch two guys in the ring who just fought on Monday or on Friday or both? You know, I just I don't think since the switch from pay-per-view to the network, I don't think they prioritize those last-minute buys quite as much as they used to.
Yeah.
I think they made a big mistake with SmackDown, too. They put on one hell of a SmackDown show before this with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, and, man, that cast a shadow over this main event.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, Just a Dude, Apollo Crews took on Andrade with the second coming of Eddie Guerrero, Angel Garza, or so we've been told, and their manager, hot piece of ass, Zelina Vega. Apollo Crews beat Andrade in 7 minutes, 25 seconds for the U.S. Championship. Again,
the size of it.
Yeah. They had a match. Both guys can work. Apollo Crews has he has a good body, but he has no charisma.
He's a vortex of charisma.
Yeah, he's just a dude, and less of a dude than Finn Balor or Punishment Martinez. We talked about that last week. Some of these guys, they're just kind of there. But even Apollo Crews, it's a guy with that kind of body should have more intensity about him. But he's just a smiling and a flipping and zippity-doo-dah. I don't know what else to say about Apollo Crews. Chris Sheehan, Apollo Crews, Andrade, they had a match.
Last night, Apollo Crews was in a match with Shelton Benjamin. And Shelton Benjamin looked like he was Ric Flair, charisma-wise, by comparison.
Somebody call his mama.
Is she still around? I don't know. But no, this is just like we just said. This is a match we've seen at least 3 times this month. Because Apollo beat Andrade for the title a month ago, and they've had nothing but rematches since. And now we get it on a it was a pay-per-view pre-show, but still, it got bumped because of something we'll talk about later. But I don't see any reason for it to have happened besides doing the little Kevin Owens, stunner bump to close it out. Really didn't do anybody any favors. It could have just been a skit backstage instead of a full-blown match that didn't do anything.
I don't want to talk about skits.
We'll get there.
Oh, no. Lordy. Chris Bailey.
Remember when the future was Apollo and he was part of the Titus Worldwide and he was going to rock the nation with Dana Brooke and Titus? Remember that big corporation? Boy, that fizzled out, and he hasn't done a darn thing since. It makes no sense. So he was a hot prospect in NXT. They brought the guy up. He floundered around a little bit. They gave him the Titus Worldwide thing. He floundered all over the place, main roster. They have no idea what to do with this guy. So, like you said, he smiles. What else do we know about him? Anything?
He's got a jacked up body, but I mean,
he's in great shape. He's got a good offense. He's somehow tangled up with the Kevin Owens storyline with these poor guys, but they're on Raw every single week. You know what you're missing every single week on the first hour of Raw? This match is what you're missing because it's on every single week. They just interchange the players. It's horrible.
Yeah, I also think he's not served by having an intense black guy on the show currently in the main event, who is Bobby Lashley. Mm-hmm. I like what they're doing with Bobby Lashley, and I could do without Lana, but the MVP Bobby Lashley pairing, where there's kind of slight intonations of racial stuff going on, and and MVP kind of trying to steer Bobby away from stupidity and being you've been overlooked. You need to go destroy people, and Bobby Lashley's super intense. We're okay, well, we already got one of those. So what do we need Apollo Crews for? Apollo Crews needs to go somewhere else. He shouldn't be on Raw right now, basically, if they're going to have Bobby Lashley in this prominent position, or come up with something else for Apollo Crews, because apparently he doesn't do intense guy real well.
He's an amazing hybrid. He's an amazing hybrid of styles too, because he can do the power moves. You know what I mean? He's got that launching power slam off the top rope, but yet he can do a double moonsault. You know what I mean? The standing moonsault. Unbelievably well, by the way. But the guy's got a lot of talent. They just haven't figured out the angle or the spin to put this guy in.
Yeah, or give him a manager. So, like, I liked when he was with Titus. You know, Titus, I think, would have worked better as a manager, considering he had made an ass out of himself a handful of times. So he really was never going to get taken seriously as a wrestler. But I think Titus, I mean, like, he's got such good marketability, like, locally here in Tampa. You know, he's a spokesperson. He's an ambassador. He goes to schools and whatnot. They're never going to get rid of Titus O'Neil, especially now, because he's too good for their image. But Titus isn't a great wrestler. I think Titus would have worked well as Apollo Crews' manager, but it's like they don't ever commit to anything. So again, if Apollo Crews doesn't do himself any favors, he doesn't make himself stand out, he's a super good athlete, but he has no charisma and he has no character, and he needs somebody to talk for him. You know, just a match. This next one, though,
could he be like, you know, a black version of Taz? Would that work? Think about it.
He'd have to stop smiling.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you turn him badass, but what do you do with him and with that demeanor? I mean,
well, again, you've already got one of those in Bobby Lashley.
True, fair enough.
So this next match, though, was a lot of fun. Bayley and Sasha Banks together again, tag team champions. I don't know when they're going to break these two up and make them fight. Maybe SummerSlam, maybe not, with the way things are going. But Bayley has never looked happier. You know,
You're right.
She's having a ball. She's just a shit bastard heel. And, you know, we've talked about this for months now, and I'll keep saying it. Bayley looks like, now as a heel, as just a dirtbag, sarcastic, shitty heel. She's having a ball. She's really turned a corner. Like, I remember, and we talked about this with Money in the Bank, and we talked about this in previous shows, how frustrating it was with Bayley that she wasn't leaning into the heel character. I have totally turned a corner on Bayley. I love her heel persona now. And, you know, Sasha Banks, she's always played a good heel. She looks very happy, snuggled up next to Bayley. So they're fine. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, I did not think this was going to go on as long as it has. But
so they've got a unique situation going on here. So they've got two teams that you know that are going to explode one day. So they got Banks and Bayley, who they're teasing that they're going to have a big fallout eventually for the belt. And then you got Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, who they completely forgot were about to break into a feud. Like, we knew for sure that when this team was formed with Nikki Cross, the best friends gimmick was only a matter of time before he was going to Paul Orndorff her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was going to happen. She was going to, you know, toss Nikki Cross out of the ring and betray her. Now, we're also waiting for that to happen with Bayley and Sasha Banks. And if I know WWE, I bet they don't pull the plug or pull the trigger on either one of these things, and they'll be together forever, both teams.
And not for nothing, but weren't the Iconics on the verge of breaking up too?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a tease going on.
Billy smacked what's her face, the other one.
Peyton Royce.
That's
that would have been a mistake at this point.
No, so, they'll break them all up the same week.
It'll just be chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it'll be Peyton Royce and Nikki Cross as the new what is it? The new Brood. There you go. They'll mix and match.
Perfect. I really like this match. It's probably one of my favorite matches of the night. It was one I was paying the most attention to be honest with you. My daughter was watching this because she loves the Boss and Hug connection. I actually thought they pulled this match off really well. I get a kick out of the Iconics. Like, they're not great workers or anything, but their gimmick is hilarious.
It is.
When Alexa Bliss isn't hurting herself, she's good. Nikki Cross is a good, tough gal. So I thought all six girls were able to pull off a really good triple threat tag team match here. And Bayley and Sasha won it in 8 minutes and 50 seconds there. Mr. Bayley, what'd you think of it?
Oh, we got to call her by her proper name now, Bayley Dos Belts. So there, Dos Straps, I should say. It's pretty cool. So you got Bayley, who's really, really leaning into her heel persona. She's finally having some fun and doesn't look like she's going to take a bag of pills in a shower somewhere. So that's pretty fun. You got Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, who always put off a great match, and the Iconics. I mean, Peyton Royce, she is hot as balls. That's all I'll say right now. Mm-hmm. But, it was an interesting match. Lots of great stuff going on. And the winners are going to face, in a title defense, Tegan Nox and good old Tank Girl herself, Shotzi Blackheart, on Wednesday night. So what do you think of that?
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm here for.
Yes, bringing the news. And bringing the style, Christian, what'd you think of the Goyles?
Oh, I liked it a lot. I thought this was a great way to start the show proper. A lot of excitement. And since there is this weird tension in the air with like all three teams, you really didn't know what was going to go down. So the finish really was never not in question. I was a little bit surprised that they kept the belts with Sasha and Bayley. I'm happy they did because I'm really enjoying them together, and it's the first time I've enjoyed either one of them in a very, very long time. But I was happy with the match, happy with the result. Thought the whole thing went off swimmingly.
Can I make one comment on this match, the finish? How many times are we going to see this finish come up where somebody hits their finishing move and another person steals their thunder? This has happened in like a ton of times on both the competition and WWE right now. Like it's becoming like basically one of the biggest finishes that's in the company right now is this particular finish where somebody else steals somebody else's fire after someone else hits their finisher. It's becoming repeat, rinse, and recycle here.
The stock triple threat finish.
Yes, sir. That's what it is.
All right, Christian, have you been watching SmackDown?
I have.
Explain to me why Jeff Hardy's a drunk again.
Because they ran a bunch of redemption vignettes with him, kind of like being brutally honest about everything that's gone on over the past 10, 15 years with him, and Sheamus had a problem with that. Sheamus was annoyed that he was getting all the attention. And so Sheamus set up a frame job to make it look like Jeff was drinking and driving, and he was not. And so we got a wonderful scene on SmackDown of Jeff Hardy urinating into a cup in the ring, having that urine tested, and then him throwing that urine into Sheamus's face and mouth.
Right.
And what was
pissed
his
off than pissed on?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Dear God. Bailey, is there something else you wanted to say, or?
Oh no! You know what? The sheer joy of me seeing Sheamus just getting a glass full of piss poured all over him was amazing. So great setup for this one.
Well,
not much to say about the match though.
Yeah, Sheamus destroyed Jeff Hardy in 16 minutes and 50 seconds. This was probably too long by half. If they were just going to have Sheamus beat the living shit out of Jeff Hardy, they needed to knock off about 6-7 minutes of this. There was no reason for it to go as long as it did. Like
what describe to me what the purpose of the psychology was to this finish. Like, okay, so Sheamus set the guy up. He put his family in jeopardy. He's got everyone questioning that he's back on the booze. And you get the guy in the ring. He gets no revenge, and he gets a boot in the face, and he's done. 17 minutes. Like, where are we going?
Well, he did sit in contemplation after the match.
Okay.
So he might be planning something. Maybe Will-O-the-Wisp will come back.
Oh, no.
Or maybe this weekend on your favorite wrestling news site, we'll find out that Jeff Hardy had another DUI. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Do you feel that this is punishment?
For what, though? Like, why would they be punishing Jeff Hardy?
Because he gets put in the clink every 5 minutes when they leave him alone to his own devices. He's on the drugs and the booze, Mark.
You're going to get us all up in the pokey. Sorry, watching a lot of The Wire lately. That line was from Omar. Look, this was just one-way traffic. Sheamus ran the fuck over Jeff Hardy. And, I mean, if this is supposed to go to SummerSlam, I guess at Extreme Rules, they'll do some sort of crazy-ass match, and Jeff Hardy will get his win back because, 50-50. And then they'll have a blow-off at SummerSlam, and maybe he'll actually get some offense in this time. But this was a weird one. And, we were talking about Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa. Like, if you're going to do one-way traffic where it's a squash, make it short. Don't do a 20-minute squash. You know what I mean, Sheehan? Oh,
yeah. This was... Definitely, we don't know what the statement was for this because it was very one-sided, but it just took frickin' forever to actually happen. And the thing of it is I enjoy Sheamus. I enjoy his stiffness. I like how snug he works, and I was enjoying it for the most part. But it was just like one of those things where you start looking at your wrist. It's like, how much longer is this going to go? And I didn't think Jeff was going to win. And if Jeff did win, I thought it was going to be... Stop
killing him! He's already dead!
Basically. And the fact that it went so long made me figure that, okay, Jeff's going to like sneak a win here. He's going to get a quick roll up and scoot out of the ring. And that didn't even happen. So it's like, really didn't have any point to go quite this long. And of course, the feud won't be over. So we'll have Extreme Rules where maybe they'll have to like each drink like 30 beers before the match to make it work. But
Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus in beer pong.
Yeah, why not? Jeff will have the advantage. But it's maybe not. Who knows? But it was way too long.
So one thing you pointed out, Sheehan, on our last show, and it's interesting you said this because I put a lot of thought into it. We're in the COVID era, so you know you have fans reacting exactly how the WWE wants you to react.
Oh yeah,
and you have the announcers playing up exactly what the WWE wants to put it through.
Oh, it's perfectly manicured. Yeah.
Yes. So they're trying to set up this. So Corey Graves goes after the loss. He goes one more time. Hardy's let everybody down. Cole goes on. He says, Sheamus has exorcised his demons with this win. And then he says, Hardy put on a valiant effort, but then he said, he's ashamed of himself, and he should be. Man, this seems like somebody is sending someone a message here. Yeah, this seems like pouring dirty laundry on TV and flushing the toilet on this guy. I don't know where this is ending up, but I just don't see what else you do with this feud.
It's not the best way to, because the whole purpose of this entire program was like Jeff Hardy's redemption, and
yes.
I mean, and we always talk about WWE not pulling the trigger. We just did with the girls not splitting up. It's going to get to the point where they're going to keep piling shit on Jeff Hardy, and then when he finally does have his redemption moment, we're going to be over it.
Yeah,
and people are going to be like, fans are going to be like, the guy's a drunk and a drug addict. We don't like the guy anymore.
The WWE just does not, like if you've ever like shot bow and arrow or shot a gun or whatever, timing your shot, WWE is the worst at it. They would literally hit a bystander every single time. Hit a bear, something. It's just they
not even. Okay. Like, even when they get it right, they get it wrong. I was watching the what was that? The Ruthless Aggression revisionist history documentary on the network.
Oh, that thing! Oy.
Oh, and they were talking of, and it reminded me of when they turned Batista, when he was with Evolution, and then they turned him into a good guy. Where like the whole groundswell for like the 6 months leading up to his turn was like, wow, he really sees what's going on here. He knows what's going on with Triple H. He's going to turn on him eventually. And then they have him turn on him after overhearing a conversation that we saw him overhear. So like it takes all the thought out of it, and it's just like, okay, Batista's an idiot, but he just happened across this one conversation, and now he knows Hunter's a bad guy. Even they know what they have something in place, they can't even do it.
If the WWE were this bad back in like 1998, they would have pulled the trigger on Steve Austin at SummerSlam instead of WrestleMania.
Yes.
Like, especially if Shawn hadn't broken his back.
The night after SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about this one. We'll leave off on this one. When was any time in wrestling that you can think of where this gimmick, where they got someone who's on drugs or a booze addict and wanted a redemption story, when did it finish and conclude? I'll tell you what. Road Warrior Hawk, did it finish? Nope, they scrapped it. Scott Hall, WCW, did they, what did they do with that? Nothing. He went off TV and they never revisited the angle again. The only single one that they did, and they didn't even play it as a drug angle, was the Eddie Guerrero story where, finally he came back from adversity and, his demons and won the championship. That was the only single one that I could think of that was successful. All the other attempts, and there's a ton, I'm telling you, like all through AWA right on through, have failed. So what are we doing here?
I know they did like the Straight Edge Society with CM Punk, but didn't they even have like him fake being high or some shit one night?
Yeah, when Chris Jericho came back, he accused him of not being straight edge, and they made him like do the sobriety test, walk the line, the alphabet backwards, all that stuff. And did he throw pee on Jericho in that one too?
Probably.
He might have. Yeah.
Well, this turned into fetish wrestling all of a sudden.
Golden Shower Wrestling
We need
presents.
airbags and apartments. Yeah.
All right, so the man became the mom, and Asuka became traded in her Money in the Bank for the title, and then immediately went into a feud where Nia Jax kept giving Kairi Sane concussions, and then was mildly racist against Japanese people.
I like how you said mildly.
So I want to bring this up because Nia Jax seems like since she's come back, and I want to bring up something that Ryback said. The accusations against Nia Jax is basically she's not working safe. She's just throwing poor Kairi Sane around. On the other hand, in defense of Nia Jax, she's supposed to be working like a monster. She's supposed to be working like a killer. And that and Ryback's whole point with Nia Jax was, don't just assume that because it looks like she hurt Kairi Sane that she really did. Some things are meant to fool you on TV. So before we get into the match, I kind of wanted to just get your thoughts on this last month of Nia Jax and Kairi Sane and her feud with Asuka. Do you really think she's just sloppy and doesn't care, and as Jim Cornette would say, she's doing shit she shouldn't be doing, or is she just really good? And one or two accidents maybe, but ultimately she is working safe. She's just a safe monster. I'll go to you first, Bailey.
No, I think we got a little bit of a miss here with Nia Jax. I mean, the difference between, putting a giant swing onto someone into a set of steel stairs that, you hit them with the flat side of the stairs. You don't stick them on the actual angle of the step and bust her head open. There's different things that this lady is doing that is incredibly all their, I don't know how to describe it. It's really, really amateur hour when it comes to Nia Jax. A lot of her moves are not polished. She's got a sloppy way of doing it, and some of it feels really, really deliberate when she lands some of these moves. You know what I mean? When she was battling Becky Lynch, I think in some of their matches, she was stiff as F in those matches, man. I mean, it was tough. So
I think she's mind being stiff. Vader works stiff.
Yeah.
People
I think Vader was probably more dangerous than Nia Jax, when it came to really messing people up. But I think we got a similar situation here. I think we got Lady Vader here.
Well, I think people, other than Shawn Michaels, who tore his vagina, I think the thing with Vader was he was stiff, but he was safe. He wasn't going out of his way to hurt people. And I think most people who said it's a long night at the office to work Vader. I think Hogan didn't want to work Vader in WCW because he didn't want to work with a guy who was stiff in general. Ugh. But yeah, could you imagine? But I don't think everyone complained that Vader was unsafe. And I think that's what I'm positing, Sheehan, is that maybe she's doing a Vader thing and she's just working stiff and she's trying to put over her monster gimmick, or because to me, there's been times I've watched her with Kairi Sane, who's a slight gal. She's not big. And Nia Jax can't get her up. She can't complete the move. She doesn't have the arm and body strength to do some of the shit she's doing. And so her moves fall short. So that would lend itself to I think she's trying to work safe, but she doesn't have the ability. You know what I mean, Sheehan?
Yeah, she's just not good. She's not a good professional wrestler. And she hasn't been from Jump Street. What was it, the last one? The Money in the Bank, where she couldn't keep Lacey Evans over. She tried the gorilla press with Lacey Evans, almost killed her.
Mm-hmm. That's why she matches up properly with a Kairi Sane, who's the weight of a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
exactly
if you can't do it, don't do it. And I don't know how much of this is the office telling her to work a certain way. Where, the way I look at it, she's a Rock relative, so she has clout. She could say no. She could say she wants a ballerina gimmick, and she'd get it. They'd give it to her.
That would be amazing.
But she's just not very good. Safeness aside, she sucks. So she doesn't have the power. She doesn't have the ability. And unfortunately, she's got at least another month of this feud.
Well, think about it. Every single match on this card is all pointed to Extreme Rules. So every one of these you're going to see recycled like trash bags into like hardcore matches. So, that's what we got to look forward to.
And then SummerSlam. Yeah, I mean,
that's where the 50-50 gets broken, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the match itself. Asuka versus Nia Jax. I love Asuka. She's the best. I've loved her crazy, yammering Japanese gimmick. Asuka's like just the best female worker, I think, like on the planet right now. And she tried to carry Nia Jax, and she's no pushover. These two, I think, had kind of a hard-hitting match, but I think because they couldn't put Nia Jax over, and they wanted to extend the feud, this went to a double count-out. And this is where I said to Bailey, this is starting to feel like Saturday night's main event. Like this doesn't feel like a pay-per-view. This just feels like a stopgap on the way to a bigger event. Because that's the kind of shit you would do on Saturday night's main event, not on the goddamn pay-per-view.
So we saw this Asuka versus Nia Jax match on an NXT pay-per-view, on a takeover. And, Asuka submitted Nia Jax with an armbar. And you would never tell that these were the same two wrestlers in this ring right now, because this was a extremely basic. They didn't really do much of anything. They had a sit-out power bomb, and they had a couple of, stiff kicks and different things like that. But, man, there's something really, really missing from the presentation here, especially of Asuka. Like, I know you love Asuka. My criticism of Asuka is that I think they made her too cartoonish. If they have the belt on her and they want to keep it on her, I think bringing back that killer streak in her is probably the way to go. But no, instead she's just, just a reaction. Just think about the reaction she had when Becky Lynch, said she was going to give her the belt and all that.
We're going to have a baby.
I'm champion. Yes, I'm champion. Oh, it's just mind-boggling what they're doing with Asuka. But
she works for an old pervert who thinks that unless she acts like a racist Japanese caricature, she's not going to get over. So that's not going away anytime soon.
I think you hit it right on the head. I think that's the reason why we're seeing this.
Any of your thoughts there, Sheehan?
I hate it when we have a regular count out on a pay-per-view, much less a double count out. This is and it's so damn telegraphed, because that's the only time you could hear the referee count loud. It's like 5. It's like, oh crap, we're getting a double count out. And sure enough, I mean, I don't know why we need to keep Nia Jax strong. I don't get that. It's like we have like almost too many good women on the roster that aren't getting any kind of push here, or they're being tossed in a tag team for a triple threat. It's I don't know what the fascination is with Nia. Last time we had Tamina, I don't know what the fascination is with her either. It's just it just feels very much like they're putting Hogan through the monster of the week, and that goes right back to Saturday night's main event. Very much. Like a Saturday night's main event, but
now we need Asuka versus Nia Jax in the Jungle Gym cage.
Yeah, the big blue. But I
no, the Punjabi prison.
Yes,
need that back.
But I don't know that it would be a bad thing to maybe send Nia back to NXT for a little bit. Just have her go back there, have her destroy all the women in NXT. Who cares? Hopefully it'll make her better.
In NXT, man, put Asuka back in NXT.
No, we have Io Shirai. It's fine.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing Io Shirai beat the shit out of Nia Jax for a while.
Yeah, why not? But they'd have Io lose real quick.
I'm gonna start a hashtag Save Asuka campaign. That's it. Enough of this.
All right, the next one, Miz and Morrison. Hey, ho ho. Can we just
say... You tired of Corey singing that crap for like the entire damn match?
Not for nothing, but I'm good with Miz and Morrison just doing music videos at this point. I don't need to see either one of them wrestle.
They're so good at it. They're like it's legit, man. Those videos are they're well designed, they're well shot, and those guys are 100% all in on that thing, man.
Yeah, they're hilarious. They did a handicap match with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, the COVID champion of the world. He's the only reason he has that belt is because Roman Reigns doesn't want the leukemia, doesn't want the COVID.
Yeah, he's a walking middle finger to Roman Reigns, is what he is. From Vince McMahon.
He is Big Show circa 1999. Transitional.
Yes, sir.
And so they're just finding like bullshit for him to do until they can get that belt off of him. And
you know when you win the championship, so Braun Strowman's a Universal Champion, right? Does that come with a pay increase? I'm just asking a question out loud.
Kayfabe or real?
For real.
no, you get
Your merchandise might go up if people want to buy your train T-shirt.
I was gonna say you get guaranteed money that's in your contract. I think you get extra money for whatever merchandise you sell.
Yep.
And then
I don't think there's no house
appearances
to
and
get a
stuff
part
like
of
that.
this time.
Yeah, no, there is not.
The reason I ask this, of course, is for no particular real good reason. But could Braun Strowman not afford anything outside of a pair of Crocs? I noticed he was wearing Crocs when he got out of his vehicle. I didn't know what to think.
And Miz and Morrison made fun of him for it in their video.
I miss fucking Braun Strowman like being an insane person and flipping over ambulances. Like now
Yes,
he just
absolutely.
does like a light dad jog around the ring and like moshes into people.
He's 95 Diesel with the entrance and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm to the point now I would give him back to Sheep's Head.
You remember like the first night Paul Lee took over Raw, who's now off the show, but the first night that Paul Lee took over Raw when they made him a producer and Eric Bischoff the producer of SmackDown, and fucking Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley went through the Titantron.
Yes.
Yeah, and Corey Graves said, "Holy shit!" on the air.
I miss that Braun Strowman. Like Braun Strowman, who's intense and a monster and like just destroying things. I thought was fun Braun Strowman. And that's the Braun Strowman I want to see be champion. This iteration where they just made him nothing and he's doing joke matches with the hilarity of, The Miz and John Morrison. Like, I'm not into this at all. And like I said, I don't watch SmackDown, but this isn't going to get me to watch.
Right.
Anything
But
about
what does this match have in common with the other tag team match that we had?
I don't know. What?
Every single one of these tag teams are basically almost on the verge of feuding. So this one actually had The Miz stop Morrison from pinning Strowman to win the championship.
Oh,
so then we had that little bit of tension there at the end before Strowman kicked her ass and won retain the championship.
Oh, good. Another SummerSlam match. Miz versus Morrison.
Oh, no.
Hey, ho, ho.
Oh, no.
Maybe hang Maurice from a shark cage or something. All right, before we go to the next match, I don't even want to talk about this, but it occurred on the show, and it was like 10 minutes of my life that I want back. The Viking Prophets.
That was only 10 minutes?
It felt like 10 hours.
At least.
Oh.
So, this was like the cinematic match of the night, and they were showing clips from previous iterations of their anything you can do, I can do better. I'm going to say out loud what I said to you guys in the chat. When Vince McMahon sees certain black guys, he just sees minstrels. And when he sees fat white guys, he sees comedy. And that's all this was. Minstrels and fat guy comedy.
You got peanut butter in my chocolate.
I fucking hate this, man. Like, how did the Street Profits go from like one of the best tag teams, and not to mention sort of the War Raiders, go the best tag team in NXT, just ass kicking fucking athletes, giving us killer matches, to doing bad comedy. This was endless and stupid. And at one point, like I walked away from the TV for a minute, and my wife was like, "Come back! Ninjas have showed up. You're missing the ninjas." And I yelled from the toilet, "No, the fuck, I'm not."
You did miss the ninjas, Mark. You're right on the money though. You got two teams that used to be something, and all they've done with them is create comedy figures out of them. I mean, they took a team which I loved in Ring of Honor called War Machine, which became the War Raiders in NXT, and of course now the Viking Raiders, depending on what week it is in WWE. But they have gone through all kinds of different skits, playing sports, playing bowling, and doing all kinds of different comedy crap. And
using
get this,
using the Force to grab a turkey leg.
this like what have they done to these two teams? Like, they're fighting ninjas. They're fighting ninjas.
Hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but fat people are funny and they eat. Okay?
Okay.
Black people dance and are good at sports. Fat white guys are funny and eat. Okay?
Oh, that's what Otis's gimmick is then.
Yeah, he's fat.
Oh.
And he eats.
And he
How
likes
did I
to
miss
eat.
that?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, this company isn't fucking terrible or anything. God.
I think one of the Viking, the one with the Viking Raider with the long hair, I think that might actually be Chris Benoit in Witness Relocation. You look at the dude's face, he is very Benoit-y.
Oh, we're going to get hate mail on this tonight.
Who's that?
That one Viking Raider that has hair.
The one that all the women said was cute. The fatty with the turkey leg.
Yeah, him.
Oh, no.
Ulick or Alec or whatever the hell his name is.
Ulicker. Yeah. I bet he is an
What is the deal with the lady ref saying, she smiles and she says, the whole not so much thing with Eric?
That's been a
Oh,
running
that was
gag,
the running
apparently.
gag. Yeah.
And of course,
I gotta
then,
wonder,
you had,
do you think,
then you had
do you
Ford
think
singing
anyone,
"Want the Smoke."
do you think anyone like watching the show, not who works for the company, anybody who's watching Raw, who sees one of those skits, do you think it elicited a single laugh?
I mean,
Any of
from
them?
Vince McMahon.
Well, not working for the company, just anybody who happens to have the misfortune of stopping on USA on their cable dial during one of those skits.
Nobody.
Do you think it elicited a single laugh?
Nobody who's not on drugs. Like, if
There
you were
you go.
high and you happen to see that, yeah, probably. If you're high or, like, borderline mentally retarded, probably.
Smack yourself in the head with a squirrel or something, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
This was the one cinematic match that I think one cinematic match too long here. Like, they went too far. They completely
That
you
shark
talk
was
about
jumped.
leaped over Kenyans. Just I don't know. I can't wait for this to get off my TV.
Yeah, this was horrible. Like, look, I like stupid. We talked about the Stadium Stampede match, and there were parts of it I thought were funny. We talked about Money in the Bank, and there were parts of it I thought were funny. This, I can't get into Vince McMahon's 100-year-old man, fucking old man humor. Ha ha, poopy. Fat guy eat pie. It's all so bad. It's all so dumb. Vince McMahon is the worst.
Oh man.
So, anyway, anything else about this before we move on?
Nope.
I how were they having flashbacks in real time?
Good point.
I mean, it was stupid to begin with, but when they started going into flashbacks, full on with the sound effect for a flashback, holy shit! It's like, what am I doing with my life watching this garbage?
I'm wondering if Bruce Pritchard produced that segment, because he's another one who, I haven't listened to the podcast since last summer, but I remember when I was actively listening to it, Bruce Pritchard was kind of in the Vince McMahon camp of, we're making movies, pal, but B level and C level fucking straight to video movies, and they all think they're so creative and they're so funny, but they all have that old man, again, borderline mentally retarded poopy humor sense of making movies.
Not good.
Speaking of shows that jumped the shark, boy, as soon as they plugged their Patreon, that show was done. That was over with.
Oh
yeah, totally.
Man.
All right, so this next match I actually thought was really good. I know Drew McIntyre, he gets the participation trophy from a lot of fans. You deserve it, Drew. Sure. He does nothing for me. I don't think Drew McIntyre is a big deal at all. But, he was the chosen one back in the day because of his build and his height and everything and his looks. And a lot of fans are wanted him to succeed, and he went away and he came back, and he's been kind of an inspiration story for fans. So a lot of fans, I think, again, give him participation trophy heat, and being in the role that he's in now. And of course, he also shows up to work every day, unlike Brock Lesnar, which rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Bobby Lashley, like I said at the top of the show, I love him being with MVP. maybe it's just me and I just miss the Nation of Domination, but I wish they'd go full on like Black Lives Matter, fucking angry black guys. The WWE is racist. Everybody's a racist. My wife's a racist. She just knocked her over a train set. I just want them to just lean into the anger that's currently going on in the world. And maybe people would look at it and say, "Oh, well, you're taking advantage. You're being tone deaf." But that's
what the WWE's good at.
Yeah, and Bobby Lashley's perfect
Vince's
for it.
100-year-old sense of humor still.
Well, I don't want Bobby Lashley to be wearing the black and white prison jumper, and being part of the Alabama Porch Monkeys.
Okay.
Don't put that in Vince McMahon's head. You know what he's gonna do. Oh my God, we could have a team.
Someone's gonna hear this and be like, Alabama Porch Monkeys, you racist. That's a joke from a Spike Lee movie. God damn. Go watch Bamboozled, you racists. Anyway.
I don't know this man. I don't know him. I don't know what I'm doing on this podcast. Anyway, continue.
What did I just dial into? I just dialed into something here?
I think we're in the wrong place here.
Oh man! The cosmic treadmill's over there. Oh, whoops.
All right, we're out.
Anyway, I love the new intense Bobby Lashley. Unfortunately, they're mudding this up with Lana just getting in Bobby Lashley's way all the time and making him lose. But either way, I thought Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley put on a really good match. Here's my one issue with this. I kind of wish they didn't have a match. I wish, I love the fact that Bobby Lashley started off putting him in the full Nelson, and I wish he had just hurt Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre couldn't continue, and they stretchered him out, and then Bobby Lashley just walked off with the title. To me, that would have sold the next match. With that, we've already seen so many matches we're going to get a repeat of next month at Extreme Rules, and then again at SummerSlam. If Bobby Lashley had just fucked up Drew McIntyre and took his title and be like, there, 15 years, bitch. I'd be like, yeah, go Bobby Lashley. Way to show some intensity. When was the last time you saw a good stretcher job on a pay-per-view?
Like a legit stretcher job, not one of these things where they just roll them on. Like a legit stretcher job. It's been a while.
Instead, Drew McIntyre's like, oh, I can come back. And then they end up having a real match, and it ends because Lana got in the way. And it's like, there was a lot of story here that they could have spaced out over other matches. But what did you think, Bailey?
So, number one, big problem with this. You have your WWE World Champion, Drew McIntyre, not in the main event. So, number one, what does that tell you? He was just a secondary bit character. His purpose of being in the match was just literally to be in the match. The story here is the MVP Lana Bobby Lashley deal. So, MVP is trying to, peruse Mr. Lashley into, aligning with him completely and ditching Lana. That's his whole purpose. He's the devil on the shoulder trying to talk in his ear and, lead him away from his new wife and that type of thing. That's the entire purpose and being of this match. So Drew McIntyre, he's the world champion, and he's secondary in his own match. Now, the match itself, it was pretty stiff, man. They had some good work going on here, to be quite honest with you. I know I trashed this a little bit, but I trashed it for that particular reason. But, you got someone the size of Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre is throwing him around like he's a rag doll, like these vicious suplexes. Holding him up, standing vertical suplexes, spine busters. There was a lot of stuff in here that was pretty darn impressive, to be quite honest with you. But really, what purpose did it serve? It served to, one big boot in the head, and poor old Lashley's done, and Drew McIntyre's still the COVID champion, and that's basically all this is.
Sheehan.
The problem with this match was that the ending was never in question because
yes,
we knew Lana was going to come out. We were just waiting for Lana to come out, so it was hard to actually lose yourself in the match. That's because, I really dug everything leading up to it. I liked Bobby just beating the shit out of Drew before the bell rang. I liked just Drew trying to fight in his jacket while Bobby was still beating the crap out of him.
That was excellent.
Bobby had to yank the jacket off of him. I thought that was awesome. MVP is literally the MVP. He is.
Oh yeah,
he is awesome.
He is so good as a manager.
Oh, he was
I
fantastic.
I love your idea, Mark, where you had MVP managing like a group of these guys. It would be amazing. But continue on, Sheen. I agree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, MVP's been awesome, but the whole time, every time I would almost lose myself in the match, I'd remember Lana hasn't shown up yet. And the way, just since everything that they do is so telegraphed, you just knew it was coming. And it really hindered my appreciation and enjoyment of the match. And I wanted to enjoy it because they were putting on a hell of a match. I mean, Drew almost got dumped on his head at one point, but other than that, it was a really good match. I think it's the best they've both looked in a very long time.
I'm going to agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they both brought the intensity, but then every time something like a big spot happened, I'm like, oh crap, where's Lana? Where's Lana? And then sure enough, that's how the match ended. So this feud will continue, and it continued into Raw last night, and it'll probably continue into the future.
Are they progressively de-sexing Lana? You know what I mean? Every time she comes out, she looks progressively worse and unattractive.
She looks very odd. She looks
doesn't
odd.
she?
I really miss like Rusev era Lana with the pants.
Oh, like the Russian. Russian. Oh,
Yeah.
she was amazing at that.
Yeah.
No, it's
But
very
this-
bizarre right now.
But this whole broken home wife, crazy lunatic wife thing is just not working, man. It doesn't work at all.
Well, first of all, like I know she's originally from Florida, but she seems to struggle with English. Like she delivers promos, she's like, "Bobby, with pictures and sneakers, shoes, soda." Like, do you have fucking Tourette's, Lana? What's wrong with you? She delivers some of her promos like she's fucking reading a hostage letter. Like blink twice, Lana, if you need help. She's just so bad.
It's no good.
It's funny, she did full Russian very well.
Yeah, like when
Yeah.
when she was with Rusev, she was very smooth, and she was just like Rusev, and like
So good.
She mastered that. Now that she has to play she has to do more lines of dialogue, and she can't fucking act to save her life. Like they're trying with her, and I think she has a look for it, but she's no good.
But now she's going to be in an angle with Natty Neidhart. We don't know what kind of angle, but they're going to be paired together.
Oh no!
That's what happened on Raw last night.
I don't know what's worse, chemo or that.
Only you could get away with that comment, sir. Perfect.
In 1997, I actually owned a Nation of Domination T-shirt.
Nice. Well done. Do you still have it?
No. I also would not fit. But
You shouldn't. If you
and-
get,
and I
rid-
think
you
it
shouldn't
would-
have gotten rid of it though, because then they'll bum rush your mother.
And Mark, I'm just telling you this, just for your own safety. It would be poor timing to wear that right now.
so it's I saw the best shirt today. Black Sabbath is actually selling like the Masters of Reality Black Sabbath logo T-shirt, but it says Black Lives Matter. I'm like, that's pretty dope looking. All right,
Making the cash.
yeah, buddy. Well, I think it's like they're donating the proceeds, but anyway. All right, now we come to it. The greatest match ever. The greatest wrestling match ever. 45 minutes this thing
Ever.
went on.
Ever.
Randy Orton versus Edge. And I think this was kind of like a movie. You had your opening 30-minute act, then you had your middle part, and then your final act. And I think the opening match was an actual decent wrestling match where they actually use psychology. And then the middle of it, and this is going to sound very picayune, and maybe I'm alone here, and that's fine. I don't mind being the cheese that stands alone. But and I hate to sound so concrete about this, but this is the greatest wrestling match of all time. And the whole reason why Randy Orton made that challenge was he was like, well, we had a garbage match at WrestleMania, so of course you beat me. You got to beat me with shoes and weights and shit. Like, if we just had a wrestling match, I'd kick your ass. They spent the majority of the middle of this match doing hardcore stuff. Throwing each other around the ring, hitting each other with things. Like, it turned into a garbage match, basically. And then the third part of it, they just started spamming finishers. Now, some of those finishers made sense, like Edge trying to go for an unprettier, Randy Orton trying to do the pedigree. But then they were just like, okay, now we're gonna do a rock bottom, and here's a Stone Cold Stunner, and now we're gonna do an airplane spin, and oh look, the torture rack, hey, the walls of Jericho. Like, they just pulled out the manual of finishers and started going A through Z. So the beginning I liked. The middle was confusing because it doesn't match what the challenge was, in my eyes. And then the third part, I've made this comment about the Young Bucks. I made this comment about AEW in general. Spam finishers does not a good match make. So for me, and I know a lot of people, moisten their jeans over this match. Even if you weren't hung up on it's the greatest wrestling match ever, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, well, they put on such a great show. This match made no sense after about the first 15 to 20 minutes of it. Once they got away from the psychology and they started beating the crap out of each other hardcore style around the ring, we were off the rails and into the woods. So, no, sir, I didn't like it. Fuck these two guys. Fuck this whole match. Chris Bailey.
Yeah, well, now that we're on the greatest wrestling match of all time, on the greatest podcast of all time, one moment. There we go. So, we got some crowd heat here. We got some canned heat going on in this match to start this one. But we had Howard Finkel actually announce the beginning of this match, which was kind of cool. They showed the old MSG sign, so, I knew that they were going to try some different things, but the announcers actually called out that we were going to see things that we've never seen before during this match and, basically get ready. Well, they're sort of right because, they did spam finishers all over the place with zero context. You know what I mean? They were just basically doing finishers. And like you said, it's a Young Bucks theory. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make a good match. And I will give credit to Orton. So he pulled out the punt kick. That is one thing that I've been wanting to see him actually beat somebody with for a long time. They always tease it. He gets he gets the people lined up and he gets ready to do that punt kick, but a lot of the times he never gets to finish it. So another thing here is that we had, similar to the Jeff Hardy and Sheamus match, you got Edge who's trying to come back. He's trying to get revenge. This is a guy who RKO'd his wife. And Randy Orton punt kicks him and leaves him laying in the middle of the ring and literally gets on top of him and taunts him and leaves him laying to the point where people have to assist him to get out of the ring. So obviously we're headed to Extreme Rules. Obviously we're headed to SummerSlam for the big dust-off on this one. But, man, did you take the heat and air out of Edge's return with this. 45 minutes this thing went.
Well, he's injured now, so who knows when he's coming back.
Oh, yeah, well, that's
he's
true.
He's gone
yeah,
for a better part of a year, yeah.
So what do you do with Orton?
I don't know.
Who
Run
comes
him over
to
with a tank.
Do you do the Christian comes to his aid and finish the match, finish the angle with Christian?
They did that on Raw. He beat him.
Did you see Raw?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But do you go all the way with that feud?
Honestly, move Randy Orton on to Drew McIntyre.
Yes, 100%. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Oh, I can't. I don't even want to think about it.
You didn't like the match either?
Me?
Yeah.
No, the match. Listen, the match overall itself was a mumbo jumbo of, gimmicks, and it almost felt overproduced. Man, it felt like It was just. Yeah, you know what I mean. It felt like I was watching No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan and Zeus. It felt it almost felt cinematic, in nature, that it felt too polished and too clean that it took you out of the moment. And believe it or not, after me complaining so much about wanting to hear crowd noise and how maybe we should want some crowd audience even piped in, I was wrong, man. I apologize. It sucked.
All right, Mr. Sheehan, you get the final word on this one. You heard me say this started off good, and then by the end of it was an atrocious mess. You heard what Mr. Bailey had to say. What say you?
I liked it.
Okay.
I agree. The first part was a straight wrestling match. Then they played into the fact that Edge was desperate to win. He was questioning his abilities and questioning his comeback. I thought that was a good bit where they did take it a little bit more kitchen sinky, in the middle. And the end is every WWE main event for the past 10 years. Has there been... exactly. I mean, has there been... And that's, I've never watched a Young Buck, so I don't know what the hell that is.
We have to do a watch along with an AEW pay per view with Chris Sheehan. We have to educate him, Mark.
Oh, he has to. You know what he has to see? He has to see.
I don't get that channel.
We have to make Chris Sheehan watch the Young Bucks versus Private Party. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one where one of the guys from Private Party went crazy and started jumping over both sides of the ring.
Yes.
Are any of those people the ones that keep their hands in their pockets and kick their shins like an asshole?
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. But I'm thinking about the name of this match here, the greatest match. And this is just me talking out my ass here. My theory here. I mean, ratings are in the toilet, right? I mean, every metric that you can judge WWE by is in the shitter right now. The one thing I think they might think they have control over is their social media engagement. And I think by having hashtag greatest match ever, no matter if it's people saying this is great or this is garbage, they're pumping up that hashtag. And they're pumping up the Backlash hashtag so they can say that this was the most discussed thing. This is the most socially relevant whatever the frig. I feel like this whole thing was like a giant troll on us here because they wanted discussion and they got it. It worked. By saying something just that outlandish, it got people talking. It got people. It got optimistic, and it got pessimists and cynics, saying like, "Yeah, let's see this happen." I think that I don't know if it's a smart play. I don't know how many times you can go to that sort of well without getting some sort of no pun intended backlash.
Done. You nailed it, Sheehan. That's perfect.
But I think I don't think that did the match any favors. I don't think that did Edge or Orton any favors because they could have literally done Savage Steamboat, and people would have been like, this is fucking shit. This is who cares about these guys. This is Edge and Orton. But it's I think that hurt them going into it. I think that hurt a lot of people's reception of the match because at the end of the day, this was just a above average WWE main event match.
Yeah,
and
I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us are stuck on the fact that they touted it as being something bigger than it was ever going to be.
Well, you really hit the nail on the head because, with them saying, "Oh, this is the greatest wrestling match ever," and that's why I said, I'm probably being way too concrete because, that middle part where Edge went crazy and they were whipping each other into the boards and hitting each other with shit, and I'm like, well, that's not technically a wrestling match. That's that's hardcore. That's
also,
whatever. But if they hadn't used that tagline, I wouldn't have been as irritated about it.
Sure, and I mean you don't run a match called the greatest match ever the same weekend you run Daniel Bryan and AJ friggin' Styles.
Oh boy, which was literally probably it was not the greatest match
of the
ever,
year probably so far.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was an excellent match, and then it's like you just want. Orton locker room during that match. It's like, oh shit, But this was just an above average WWE main event style match.
I'm glad you liked it.
Inside, outside. I was able to get lost in it, and the finish surprised me.
I'm glad you liked it. I think some of the ire that you're getting from me is I don't like either one of these guys. I'm over Edge. Every time this guy got going, he got injured when he was hot.
And even today.
Every single time.
And Randy Orton, I've never liked. I've always thought he was boring. I've always thought, he's just... They pushed him to the gills with John Cena. They pushed him to the gills as part of Evolution. And I was like, I don't know who he blew in the WWE to get this huge push for as long as he did. But... he's never done anything for me. So I think that also... So like I said, you're probably right. I'm probably being way too hard on this match than I need to be. But I also think, for me, these are the wrong two guys in the wrong match. So...
Yeah.
And whatever happened to the theory of Hogan must pose to end the main event? Where are we losing along the way?
We don't have a Hogan.
Yeah, fair enough. We don't even have a Cena.
I was saying we don't have a crowd for them to pose to.
Yeah.
They're going to hey, all you NXT trainees, look at my dick. Like
Xia Li will give you the thumbs up.
I never thought I'd see a day where I'm wishing for John Cena to come back or somebody to be that baby face that we can hold on and get comfortable with again. We don't have that. It feels naked and open, and there's something, a gaping hole that's missing. And Drew McIntyre is not that guy.
Well, think
Neither
about
is
Don't even
Braun.
have a Roman Reigns.
Think about it this way: like The Rock has amazing good looks, and he looked like he could be a superstar. Hogan had amazing good looks and a body for his era. John Cena looks like he was fucking God's fucking
Chiseled out of stone.
Yeah, like when God was like, what does Adam look like? Yeah, he looks like John Cena. That's
the prototype.
He was the guy, like John Cena, like looks like the perfect white man. And if you look at the roster now, there's nobody that looks like any of those people. Like Steve Austin is an outlier. Steve Austin was the right guy at the right time. Like Steve Austin's like not like super attractive or anything. He was just
the exception that proved the rule.
But like The Rock, John Cena, Hulk Hogan, these were all guys that were super attractive, had great builds. They look like they could stand apart from the company and lead it.
Yes.
There's nobody in the company that looks like them.
And not even anybody in the queue to come up. Because you take a look at your NXT, there's nobody that's your typical Vince McMahon monster who, he always says does he stand out walking through an airport? That guy's not there.
Johnny Gargano is rat-faced and is as tall as my son.
He's with a punchable face.
Tommaso Ciampa is is under the bridge with the rest of the trolls.
He looks like a goat.
Karrion Kross looks like an axe murderer.
We need to pull the trigger on Angel Garza.
Oh, no, stop.
But you're right. There's none of the men. There's not a lot right now. Seth Rollins, no. Kevin Owens, no. Like I like a lot of these guys. Don't get me wrong. But when you think about as far as and Brock Lesnar's not really attractive either. Brock Lesnar just looks like a goddamn monster, and he throws people willy nilly. He's huge. So he captures your imagination, but is that a face you really want to is that like John Cena face? Is that Hulk Hogan face? Not really.
No,
he's big. So yeah, like right now the WWE just has nobody. I think they were trying with Roman Reigns, but swarthy Samoan Greek looking motherfucker who also has no goddamn charisma. Yeah, they're trying. They keep knocking on that door, but it's not working. And right now, he's home.
The only time he's hit it out of the park and had some charisma is when he got the cancer. But outside of that, that's the only time he connected with the fans. That's the only time they wrapped their loving arms around him.
Yeah, that's what the WWE needs to do right now. They need to go find a handsome model and go and get him on some gas, teach him to wrestle. Like you're the new.
Where's
Hulk Hogan.
Brockus? Where's Brockus?
There you go.
Achim Albright.
Heidenreich. Where's Matt Morgan? That's who they need.
Man,
Matt
you're
Morgan.
not wrong.
He's the mayor of something, right? I think he's a mayor somewhere.
Someone grab a hold of Matt Morgan's penis hair, clone him. We need his genetics. We need to clone Matt
Does
Morgan.
it have to be that hair?
I'm just saying, grab it something. Grab them cakes.
He's very wiry, that guy. No, I'm kidding.
Clone Matt Morgan, make him the new champion. He's got the face for it. Had the face for it. All right. Overall, Mr. Sheehan, what did you think of Backlash?
What was it? Last week we talked about an In Your House, and this week we talked about an In Your House. It was
well said.
It was a transitional pay-per-view. It's getting us to SummerSlam. I don't think they have. I think this boat has no rudder on it. We don't know what direction we're heading yet because nobody knows anything just yet. We don't know how much longer we're going to be without a crowd. We don't know how much longer we're going to be in the Performance Center. I think this is to them a lesser of many evils. No matter how entertaining or unentertaining that might be, we are treading water and swimming in place. For the most part, I enjoyed the show. Didn't bowl me over. It's not one I'll ever watch again, probably. But for a lazy Sunday night with a bowl of popcorn in my lap, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. That's kind of where I landed. Bailey, you have the final word. Take me home, baby doll.
Yeah, I think you guys are right on the money because, I mean, I think that I got my money's worth this month with, NXT In Your House, and I feel that because of that I got this one for free, so I think I got my money's worth there, to be quite honest with you. Backlash has always been a transitional pay-per-view. It's that, it's like Fastlane and different ones like that. Like, it really means nothing to me, and literally the show put off that vibe as well. So they didn't do anything that was groundbreaking here, and if nothing else, they ruined my enthusiasm for Extreme Rules coming up. So I don't know if I want to see a replay of any of these matches continue. So I don't know what they did here. But what do you think the plans are for SummerSlam? Are you hyped? SummerSlam's always good, so they got a lot of stuff to really pull out of the woodshed to make that thing interesting.
Yeah, well, let's see if they can even get SummerSlam fucking up and running.
True.
Boston, I think, is still shut down. So Extreme Rules will be July 19th. We will review it, us Podsmen, on July 21st. In the meantime, in between time, yesterday we did a review of Autumn is Foul, myself and Alexis Hana and Robert Winfrey.
Was that what that was? Was that a review, or was that like a skewering, we'll call it?
That was, we threw it over the pinball machine, and all right. Fucking, like Alexis is generally really positive. Sometimes she can get between me and Robert and just like, all right, guys, like, come on, Star Wars isn't that bad. Calm down. Like this one, man. Even she was like, fuck, Autumn is Foul.
Yeah, you guys gave that the Halle Berry and Monsters Ball on that one, man.
Yeah, we did.
Really? Oh man.
Oh, we said, you want to know what I've always wondered? That's an Oz joke, everybody. Tomorrow, Christine's going, what's Oz? Is he talking about the wizard?
Is that that's with the No Place Like Home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin Nash, and what?
Oh, okay, the Great and Powerful.
That's right. Yeah, I'll tell you what, there was a lot of Great and Powerful in Oz. Anyway, these are all rape jokes, everybody. Watch Oz. It was fantastic.
I don't remember any rapes happening in The Wizard of Oz.
No, HBO's, never mind.
I know the poppies put them to sleep, but...
We're going to hell.
Tomorrow night on the Metal Hammer of Doom, Termion Cadillac Global Warming, I will be recording with you, sir, on Thursday night, and that'll be part of the next Claremont to Claremont. Next week, we've got Supergirl being super on Source Material Live. Alexis Hana and I will review Supergirl Season 5. Jesse Starcher and I will review The New Lamb of God. And then Sean Comer and I will do an on-trial for Supergirl from 1984. We've also, the aforementioned NXT In Your House review. We've got a comic strip for The Last Days of American Crime, which sucked, by the way. And myself and Pat Mullen did our last review of Fuller House. And because we finished up with Fuller House and we were looking for something else from the 80s to look at, or the 90s or whatever, something from yesteryear, we got the word from Officer Bird that Amazon might be pulling the Dukes of Hazzard because racism. Well, that inspired us. So, before it leaves Amazon, myself and Pat Mullen, we're going to review the entire Dukes of Hazzard series.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The good old boys. Never meaning no harm.
My old dog. His name is Flash. I don't know why, because he ain't too fast.
Are you covering the Vance and Coy episodes? That's what I need to know.
He swears he's not going to watch them.
Oh.
I'm going to watch...
They're great.
I'm going to watch them. I will mention them. We're going to talk about the whole series, though.
Mark, you are going to love the episode where the real Duke boys, Bo and Luke, come back, and they have one episode to get rid of Vance and Coy. It is the best dismissal of two characters you've ever seen.
I vaguely remember that as a child, like Bo and Luke coming back from like NASCAR or some shit, and Vance and Coy are like pushed into the pool.
It is literally like, get the fuck off our show. Goodbye.
So, yeah, you can look for that July 23rd. All right, Chris Bailey, you're a part of the Superblog team-up. Tell us all about it.
Superblog Team Up returns June 24th for Expanded Universes. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff from Aliens vs. Predator, Ghostbusters teaming up with some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're going to talk Mask. We're going to talk Star Wars. It's all going to happen. It comes down
And don't
on
forget,
June.
Flash.
And Flash Gordon.
He'll save every one of us.
Which we're going to see the younger version, the younger Radlich, try her wares at the podcasting scene. So we're super excited for that. Hit us up on hashtag Superblog Team Up or hashtag SBTU. Also, I'm going to be doing some Moratory Mondays coming up, and we're covering Strike Force Moratory. And we are in the dark ages, sir, when it comes to that particular comic. We've only got 10 or 11 issues left to go. But the train is pulling into the station here, but I guarantee it's going to be a fun time over there as well. So check us out on that, hashtag Moratory Mondays, over on the Chris and Reggie Network. There you go. That's Chris Bailey.
All right, Chris Sheehan, you've got a cosmic treadmill. Run on it.
Yeah, I've got shows that you probably won't listen to and blogs you probably won't read. Got a Twitter handle that you probably already have muted. Yeah, that's me.
That makes me sad.
Listen to his show, people. What is wrong with you assholes?
Jesus Christ. What's wrong? All right, folks. For Mr. Bailey, for Mr. Sheehan, this has been TV Party Tonight. Be well, be safe, and behave.